Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name's Sarah and I am the mom of a 7-month-old little boy named George. I'm also a new YouTuber, so if you're into content that has to do with motherhood and lifestyle, please consider subscribing to my channel. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to know when I put out new stuff, then make sure to hit the notification bell. I plan on putting out new content every single Thursday at noon, so that will help remind you. And like I said, I am new to YouTube, so please be sure and comment and let me know what kind of topics you'd like me to cover, what kind of videos you'd like to see. Any comments at all, really. I'd love to hear from you, and I look forward to going on this journey with you. So tonight we're going to be talking about sleep training. As I mentioned before, I think every new parent can relate to not having enough sleep. I will be going over the Taking Cara Babies sleep training program. That is what we've decided to go with. I want to tell you right off the top that I'm going to be mentioning little bits and pieces of what we do during that program, but by no means am I giving away the whole program, because ethically I just don't believe that that's right. So if you do want to do her program, definitely head on over to Taking Cara Babies. The one that we've done is the ABC, and it has been fantastic. So stay tuned and you will figure out why. I'll show you the entire journey that we took from night 1 all the way through till the very end of the video, which is actually a 2-month update. So it's in the future from now, and hopefully you do enjoy. I'm going to be putting out another video next week that has to do with our bedtime routine, so I do reference that a little bit in here as well. Stay tuned and I will definitely be sure to put that up. We are currently on night 5 of Taking Cara Babies ABC sleep training program. We decided to go with a more formal sleep training program after basically months of attempting other things and nothing working. You'll notice that I am filming the intro on night 5, as I mentioned, and that is because it is working and I have time now to film content. So I wanted to start filming and putting up content a long time ago, but the sleep has been so bad over this last 7 months that it's really been tough to get much done once he goes to bed. So to start our journey in the newborn stage, I did know that newborns are very unpredictable and that you really shouldn't be sleep training right from the get-go. However, I did try from the beginning to really implement some positive sleep habits. So for example, I tried from the beginning not to rock him to sleep or to feed him to sleep. I tried to let him fuss in his room, and then if I felt the need to go in, I tried not to pick him up. All of these things were working really great, and actually at 6 weeks old, he was able to put himself down independently. So that was going okay. I was feeding him a few times during the night, but he would go right back down, no problem. So I just went with that. Naps were okay. He's always been a short napper, but he's getting 40 minutes until we hit the 4-month mark. He just wouldn't go down anymore, and he was not only not going down, but when he did go down, he would wake up constantly and just not want to be put down. So I got to the point where I was so exhausted and just done that I gave in and I started rocking him to sleep, which turned into feeding him to sleep. And it was just so easy. I pick him up, nurse him, he'd fall back to sleep, I put him down, that's the end. So we got into that habit to survive the 4-month sleep regression. However, because of that habit, it never ended. So here we are, 6 months last month, when I decided things have got to change. I knew from what I read that he could be doing a lot better than he was. He was still waking up every 2 to 3 hours to be nursed and rocked back to sleep. So this just, after the 6-month mark, not going to be sustainable for much longer. I'm very tired. So tired, in fact, you guys, that I almost feel like kind of drunk. I don't know if anyone else has experienced this, but I get so tired that I get racing thoughts and I can't focus very much. Spatial awareness is super off. I'm constantly bumping into things, very clumsy and uncoordinated. I feel not myself, and I know that that's because I'm not getting consistent sleep. It's a funny story. I actually left the house. This was only 2 months ago or so. I think it was around 5 months. I left the house with 2 different flip-flops on. I didn't realize that I had done this until like 2 hours after I had left the house. That's how all consumed with other things I was that I didn't even notice. So yeah, sleep is something that we've struggled with the whole time. He's a wonderful baby during the day, so it doesn't seem to affect him too much. It's just that I'm not getting enough sleep. Anyway, I I knew that we were going to take a family trip, go see my family in another city. So I figured there's no point in actually starting a formal sleep training program until we got back from our trip. And let me tell you, I couldn't wait to get back. We couldn't come back fast enough because from what I'd heard, reviews I've read, and people that I've watched, and actually real people that I know, everybody was raving about this sleep plan. So I just wanted to do it already so I could sleep. So we went to Ottawa. Things got so much worse in Ottawa. Not only did he need to be nursed to sleep, but he wouldn't let me put him down all over again. So now I felt like he was 2 weeks old again, and I was rocking him and holding him, feeding him, and then I'd put him down and he would scream right away. And he was waking up like every half hour. It was brutal. Finally got a little bit better towards the tail end of the trip, but either way, I thought to myself, enough's enough. We gotta do this program. I've been really back and forth about making the decision to sleep. The main reason is because my parent style does tend to be a little more attachment, but sleep is kind of where I differ. I believe learning to sleep independently is a learned skill, and that teaching him and helping him and guiding him along how to do that is actually the kind thing to do. Because when he sleeps, he feels better the next day. I feel better when I sleep the next day, and he deserves a mommy who is on her game. So I do, after going back and forth so much, I feel like it's the right thing for our family. Everybody's situation is different. Totally respect if that's not your jam, but for us, it's what I chose to do. So we got back from Ottawa. The first day was the hardest. I'll tell you right away that it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. So I thought it was going to be brutal. It was very tough at the end, but we made it through. So they recommend that you let them cry. You can go in at the 5-minute mark, then 10 minutes after that, then 15 minutes after that, and then consecutively 15 minutes after that until they fall asleep. First 3 nights, I believe it is, you're allowed to touch them as well as speak to them, and then after that, it's just speaking to them, but you must not pick them up. So we did this. I got Dave to go in first, so for the 5 and 10 minute intervals, and then I went in for the 15 just to study his different reactions to both of us. And after I went in, he fell asleep. So after he fell asleep, I was kind of like, okay, so now what? I mean, that's okay, but that was a lot. For the rest of the night, he woke up a couple of times, put himself back to sleep before the 5-minute mark. I think there was one other time where we had to pop in once. And then since then, you guys, night 5, we haven't had to do another pop in yet. So I had this in my head that I was going to do this whole sleep training with me, video, and it was going to be super interesting and all that stuff. But actually, it's kind of boring because after that, things got easier. At the same time, plan does implement weaning off night feedings. So like I said, we were feeding every 2 to 3 hours, and now we started off with 3 dream feed. The idea is that you feed them while they're asleep, put them back down so they don't associate them crying with you coming and feeding. So they have to be asleep for it. I've been going in at 10, 1, and 4 for dream feed, slowly making our way from 10 minutes, lowering the time. Last night we cut out the middle feed, so we got a feed at 10 and at 4, and tonight he's only getting a feed at 4. So he does still wake up. Last night he woke up 5 times, but it's under 5 minutes because we never make it to the 5-minute mark to have to go pop in. Usually it's 1 or 2 minutes, sometimes it's not even a minute, and he just screams really loud and then he's asleep again. It's kind of weird, but I just hold my horses and wait. So I'm wondering if he's going to keep, I'm just worried that he's going to miss his feeds because I put him down, I had to put him down early because of the naps and how they worked out this today. I put him down at 6:15. He doesn't get a feed till 4 a.m. I don't know if he can do it, you guys, but I have to believe in him. I have to believe in me. We're both learning. It's definitely both of us learning at the same time. I'm learning to let go, and he's learning that he's okay. So I'm not gonna lie, it's been a challenge. I thought that it would be in the beginning, oh, I need sleep, this is it, he needs sleep for the night. But now that it's working, this is so silly, but I'm kind of like, I kind of miss the middle of the night feeds. He just snuggles in all sweet, and he goes down, and I just love them. But it is time for him to drop them. He doesn't need them, and I need sleep. So there's a little bit of sadness there. I'm not gonna lie, there's a little bit of sadness that we're completely losing the dream feeds, or the night feeds in general. But I'm not going to be feeding him at night in the 6th grade or anything, so I guess it had to happen eventually. So that is pretty much it for what we've been doing. Oh, I wanted to mention, going back to before we sleep trained, I tried everything. Everything. We did the white noise machine right off the bat. We got the soothing motions bassinet, which had white noise built in, which is one of the reasons I liked the bassinet. However, it cut off after 20 minutes and he would wake up. So I had to get another. Actually, we had our laptop in the bedroom for the longest time, just playing YouTube white noise because I just needed anything to be playing. Then I got Dream A, which I reviewed in a video, so watch out for that, as well as the bassinet actually. I also blacked out the room, which for me looked like hanging 2 bed sheets from the wall to cover the window, as well as taping up black garbage bags on the window, as well as taping cardboard over any light source in the room, including our light, including any lights on that white noise machine, for example, the monitor. I've just gone crazy to make it as dark as possible. I'm trying to think of what else I did. At the beginning, I didn't want him to have a soother because I had read about nipple confusion, but then 3 weeks in, when he wasn't sleeping, I thought, okay, it's time to try for the soother, but because I think I didn't start from the beginning, and he didn't want the soother at all. So, yeah. It is night 1 of sleep training. We are doing the Taking Cara Babies sleep training program for George. He will be 7 months tomorrow. So 7 months exactly. And how it's going so far tonight. It is currently 10:15 p.m. I just came out of his nursery. I dream fed him. So what we did was we did our regular routine. I'm down to bed at 7:30. Typically I would walk out of the room, he would cry, I would come back, and I would nurse him to sleep. But today, instead of doing that, I did the 5-minute cry it out. I set a timer and I let Dave go in at the 5-minute interval for 20 seconds to give him some shushes and give him some pats on the head, tell him it was okay. Then he was out. Then we waited 10 minutes. Then Dave went back in again. Then we waited 15 minutes. Then I went in. And let me tell you, you guys, it was so tough. With the TV and the air conditioner on, couldn't really hear him, but I could see him on the monitor even though I was trying not to look at the monitor. And I knew he was crying and it was just so awful. So I don't know, I was like, oh my gosh, like how long does this go on before, I don't know. I knew I wasn't going to give up, but I was starting to panic. And sure enough, I did the last pop-in, which was the 3rd pop-in, and after I left the room, maybe 1 minute later, he fell asleep. So I've been asleep since then, so that was 8:10. That was 8:10. I've got my little plan here. So that was 8:10, he fell asleep, so that was a total of 40 minutes of absolutely screaming, and then he just conked out. So he's been asleep since, and typically up every 2 to 3 hours nursing at night, so I'm going to wean him down off that. So to start in our program, that means that we're going to be doing a dream feed at 10, 1, and 3 or 4, I think. I have to look at the thing again. Which means that he will be asleep during the feed, so he knows that crying won't get him a feed. So that was successful. I just went in for 10 minutes and came back out, and he's still sleeping. So here's hoping that he makes it to the next dream feed without us having to do another pop-in. But yeah, holding on to the faith and let you know how it's going later. 5 a.m. and I must have slept through his 4 a.m. dream feed alarm because, excuse me, I woke up to him screaming at 4:55. So I feel bad. I feel like I messed it up. So what did I do? I let him cry and waited for a lull, and then I went in to give him a quick feed. During that lull, he was awake, but not crying as much. And then after, I'd say maybe 5 minutes of feeding, I put him down, awake, and he protested for about a minute, maybe 2, and fell back by himself. So not exactly how I wanted things to go, but that was the best I could do. So we'll see if we can make it to morning from here, and then tomorrow, hopefully I don't sleep through the alarms. It's the next morning. To recap of last night, so we put him to bed at 7:30. He cried until 8:10. So that was 3 pop-ins, one at 5, one at 10, one at 15, until he fell asleep. Then he slept. I went in for a dream feed at 10 a.m. He slept until 12:30. He woke up crying. So we were nervous about that, but we waited and he put himself back to sleep, which is great. I went in for a dream feed at 1 a.m. and then I unfortunately slept through my alarm for the last dream feed, which was at 4 a.m. and he woke up crying at 4:55 a.m. So I was kind of beating myself up about that because I feel like if I had caught that dream feed, he would have made it through, but it is what it is. So I let him cry until I hit a lull, and then when there was a lull, I went in and fed him and put him down still awake. It was just a quick feed just to top his tummy up. He actually went right back to sleep. So I don't know if that was the right thing to do, but I went with my instincts. It worked out really well, so I'm glad I did it. So tonight, I am really going to try to not sleep through my alarm, maybe get a more obnoxious alarm. We had a 2-hour wake window, did a 15-minute before nap routine, and I was back and forth about whether I wanted to continue into the nap training right away or wait. But believe it or not, we have been working on independent sleep like since he was born. So he does put himself down occasionally, and he happened to put himself down for his morning nap. So I didn't have to make the decision, which is great. Yeah, he is now sleeping in his first nap, and I am going to hop in a much needed shower. It is night 2 of our sleep training journey. Forgive the lighting, I am in my storage room because I am reorganizing. George is changing and growing. One of the things about living in a small space with a new baby is you have to be constantly organized and staying on top of things rotating in and rotating out to make use of the space. So now that I have time, because George is sleeping, that is what I'm doing. But the light in here is very unforgiving. You can see all the frizz in my hair. Today was like ridiculous humidity. It's July and my hair just frizzes out and there's no point in just doing it, so I put it back in a French braid. Also doubles as awesome because George is 7 months now and he is in the phase of pulling hair, so if I can get it away so that he can't pull it, it helps. Anyways, sorry about that side note. So today went really well. He ended up sleeping for the rest of the night. The last time I checked in, it was last night at this time. So I just finished dream feeding him and I went in at 10 o'clock and did a 10-minute feed. So with this program, they recommend weaning off all night feeds, and we were night feeding about every 2 to 3 hours up until 2 nights ago. So I started with their program that has 3 night feedings, and we're gonna work our way down to either 1 or none. I'm still kind of bouncing between which I should do. So I'm really enjoying the training program. Actually, I'm enjoying the rigidity of it. For example, when it's time for my feeds, which are at 10, 1, and 4, I take my haka, give it a wash, bring it in with me, I set the timer, which doubles as a night light, and he latches on. I wait till the end of the time, he latches off, he goes back to sleep. Last night, because of that, he managed to pretty much sleep through, with the exception of me getting up and dream feeding him. And the other exception was I slept through my alarm at 4 a.m. and so he woke up screaming at 4:50. So I'm thinking that if I had done the dream feed, he would have gone the whole night, because after that he went back till the morning. And I actually was the one to wake him up at the 12-hour mark because we're not supposed to go over 12 hours. Then he ended up having a really great first nap, almost a 2-hour nap, an hour and 55, which is super unusual for him. So we are in the middle of transitioning from 3 naps into 2 naps, and this is the tricky part when he has a really long nap, especially the first nap of the day. Then I don't know if I should attempt a 2-nap day, which is what I did, and I just kind of play it by ear and kind of go with the plan that we're following. And with this program, and she's kind of thought of all that, so I just pretty much follow along. So today he had a really long nap. We kept him up for his wake window, he went to bed, and then we actually had to have his nap in the grocery store because they're running around kind of day, and that's just realistic. So it was only a half-hour nap, which I was disappointed in because it's always the question, do I squeeze in that extra nap at the end of the day or do I just bump bedtime all the way up? And because of when he woke up, it was 3:06 when he woke up. I could put him down to bed at 6, which is a 3-hour wake window, which is pretty good for him right now for the last wake window. So I just squeaked in that they don't want you to put them to bed any earlier than 6. So that's what I did. And tonight he actually didn't do any pop-ins. He cried for just about 5 minutes. We were just about to go in for the 5 5-minute pop in, but he ended up kind of simmering down, so we didn't go in, and then he fell asleep. Then he was awake like 2 minutes later screaming, and then he was asleep for a minute, and then he was awake for a minute, and this went back and forth for somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes, where he was awake for 2 minutes and up for 3 minutes, sort of back and forth. So it wasn't sticking, and then I could see, however, he was trying to, move his head. I could see him trying to settle. His crying was going down. So I knew he was really trying, so I was really proud of him, and we didn't even need to go in for a pop-in. So he put himself to sleep, and he's been sleeping ever since. At 8:40, he did wake up and have a little bit of a cry. It only lasted for about a minute though, and then he managed to get himself back to bed. And then I just dream fed him. Dream feed. You know what I mean. So far, this is going great. I don't want to jinx it. I'm knocking on wood, but I'm really excited about how confident I feel with this plan, and I have the time to get some stuff done. And soon I'll be able to settle in and go down to sleep, but I'm still kind of on the edge of my seat, worried that he's going to be up any minute now, but hopefully that anxiety just kind of simmers with a couple of good nights under our belt. It is day 3 of sleep training George. He is down for his second nap. Last night he pretty much slept through, with the exception of me going in to dream feed him. The 4 o'clock in the morning dream feed, he heard me open the door and he started crying. So I waited for him to go back to sleep, which took a couple of minutes, and then I waited another 5 minutes before I picked him up and fed him. And then I put him down and he cried for about 30 seconds and then he fell back asleep. So far everything's going really great. I'm really surprised, and I just really don't want to jinx it. I woke him up at 6 o'clock in the morning because that was the 12-hour mark, and then we had a nap around 8, so at the 2-hour mark, and he slept for an hour and a half, and then I put him down for a second nap after 2.5 hours of wake window, and he put himself down. He cried for about, I'd say, 10 minutes on and off, but I could tell that he was really trying to get to sleep, so I didn't pop in this time for the naps. I've decided to just go for sleep training the naps at the same time. It's just making more sense to me, and I know he can do it because he's doing it. So if for whatever reason he doesn't continue to put himself down for naps, I'm gonna do the pop-ins rather than pick him up. That's pretty much it for the day. I've been able to get a lot of stuff done, which is fantastic because I've had more energy and more time already. Next up tomorrow, we are going to cut a night feed, so I will see how that goes. I think that's the thing that I'm the next worried about, is how it's going to go cutting out dream feeds, because I feel like that's what's getting us through right now. But he's been surprising me, and maybe he'll continue to surprise me. Night number 3. The last nap of the day did not go as I was hoping it would. We decided that we needed to get out of the apartment and do a couple errands, so we figured that George would nap in the car, but we got into the car and we had to stop a few places, and we got caught in a drive-thru at one point, and anywho, he didn't have the opportunity to actually fall asleep for another hour after I meant him to. So we were still in the proper wake window, but it really started to sneak into what was going to be our last wake window, and therefore bedtime, getting him into bed before 8 p.m. So it got a little hairy there, and I got very anxious about it and started getting irritated, and just, it was a little bump in the road. But how that panned out is, once he wouldn't fall asleep in the car and the time just kept going and going, we made the decision to pull over and take a walk and put him in the carrier, and he fell asleep eventually that way, but it was much later than I wanted, and it was a moment that took some self-talk. Anyway, so because of that, he only slept, I think it was like 25 minutes maybe even. It was a super short nap, which was fine by me because I needed to get back and do the bedtime routine and squish it all in before 8 with the max amount of wake time before. So put him down at 7:50, and that put us at, I think, 2.5 hours of wake. So just kind of squeaked in there. I would have liked 3, but it is what it is. And I was nervous because he got so overtired. He was really screaming there before that third nap that it was going to affect the night's sleep, and it wasn't until around 10 to 10. he woke up screaming, tried to put himself down, woke up, put himself down. That went on, I think, 3 times, off and on, but he never made it to the 5-minute mark, so I never ended up doing a pop-in. One thing I will mention is that it is Canada Day. At 10 p.m. there's fireworks going on, and we also just had a thunderstorm roll through right before that, maybe half an hour before that, so it's been a bit of a noisier night, but also has something to do with it. But super proud of him because, like I said, he kept putting himself back to sleep. He just kept waking up. He just couldn't catch. And I knew I had to go in for a dream feed at 10, but I also knew that I had to wait 5 to 10 minutes before I could go in after he stopped crying. So there was just kind of like a wait and see thing going on. And then finally we hit 5 minutes of him sleeping after 1. So I thought, okay, I'm going to sneak in and feed him because maybe that'll help him not to wake up again. And he heard me come in and started screaming. And I was like, okay, well, he's going to hear me come in again. This is just going to keep going. So I'm just going to stay in this dark room and pretend that I'm not here until he falls asleep. So I did that, waited 5 minutes, then waited another like 3.5 minutes just to be safe. And I gave him a dream feed, which was just a 5-minute feed tonight. We're dwindling down the night feeds. I never know though, should you time it from when they latch or from when you let down? I'm gonna have to research that. Then I put him down and he woke up again and started screaming. That only lasted about a minute or so, so I exited and then he fell asleep. So here we are. I'm hoping now that he's fed, he falls asleep and sort of stays asleep and we continue on. So this is what makes me nervous about the next couple of nights because I think tomorrow is when we actually drop a night feed. So very nervous to see how that goes. Last night was night 6. I decided to keep one dream feed because I just couldn't let go. I don't know if it was me not being able to let go or me not believing that he'd make it through the night, but probably the first. I was just so sad that I had to stop dream feeding him. One of my very favorite times throughout his whole life so far has been the midnight feed when I'm still awake and not tired, but he's all sleepy and squishy and he just snuggles in and we have our feed and I just hold him a little extra tight for a few extra minutes and just soak in his amazingness. So I'm really gonna miss that and I just couldn't let it go. So last night I did a dream feed at 10 p.m. and tonight I most likely will too. I don't know how long it's gonna take me before I let that go, but I'm just not ready to let it go yet. So it's so silly, eh? You spend months and months trying to get here, and now that I'm here, I'm sad and I can't let go of the night feeds. So we'll see how tonight goes. Other than that, he slept through the night great, so things are going great. For him, I just have to let go now, which is a hurdle I did not see coming. Well, we have come to the end of the 2-week commitment, and I could not be happier. I am so pleased with how things have gone. Basically, after the 5th night, I stopped making charts altogether because he just was sleeping through the night every single night. So I just thought, well, these charts are getting pretty boring because they're the same. And our naps have been consistent and fabulous. His later nap is shorter typically, but usually we're out and about for that nap. I got no complaints. I think the only interesting thing was last night, so I got him attached to one of those little loveys, basically a stuffed animal head on a little piece of square fabric blankie, and I thought that it would be helpful for the sleep training, and it has been. He's really found a lot of comfort in this lovey. But yesterday we couldn't find him and he had a really hard time falling asleep without we call Jeffrey. So super cute, but we might need to have to buy a second Jeffrey because not finding him was an issue. We found him in the end and it fixed everything, and that's how we know that that was the problem. I personally have no problems with that because I still have my lovey and I'm almost 32 years old. So the last thing is tonight we are going to try to sleep in our own bed again because we live in a 1-bedroom apartment. We had committed the 2 weeks to sleeping on the couch while he completely got used to sleep training. Now that that's over, well, I don't want to say it's over because at any moment it could change, but I need to sleep in my own bed. So my strategy for this is just to creep in the middle of the night and keep it all dark and silent. The only problem is I'm finding definitely a drop in my milk supply, so I'm going to have to keep waking up for pumping sessions, so I don't know how I'm going to do that without setting an alarm, so I've got to think about that. And that's pretty much it, so we'll see how that goes. That's the last thing. And hopefully this is something that it is going to stick. I think I need to be humble, happy yet humble, because I'll tell you, when Jeffrey was missing last night and we didn't know that that's what it was, and he kept waking up and crying, I thought to myself, you know, here I am jumping for joy that this program's worked. However, if for whatever reason he had a bad night and continued to cry, I wouldn't know what to do other than continue with the pop-ins as usual. But how do you know? What if he's sick? Like, how long does it go on for? You know what I mean? So I'm gonna have to research that a little bit harder, because it's easy to be happy when it's working, but when it's not, then yeah, I mean, that could happen at any moment. Well, it's September now. We started our sleep training journey on July 1st, if you recall. It was around Canada Day. So I still haven't put up this video, just simply because, not for lack of time, although time, you know, does seem to get away on me. More because it's really challenging learning new stuff, especially when it comes to tech and video editing, software, etc., etc., etc. So please bear with me. I am working on it. Anyways, the plus side is you get a little bit of an update. So throughout the summer, George has continued to sleep exceptionally well. Most nights he sleeps 12 hours, some nights he'll sleep 11, and some nights he probably would sleep even longer than 12, but I do get him up at the 12-hour mark. In terms of naps, he takes 2 good naps a day, typically around an hour and a half each. Sometimes in the morning I can get a good 2 hours out of him, and sometimes in the afternoon not so much, and the hour and a half is pretty much the max I get. The afternoon nap is definitely the toughest, but I can usually get a solid hour, sometimes hour and a half out of him for the afternoon nap, so it's been fantastic. The big major test was our second trip to Ottawa, which was at the end of the summer. I was nervous about it, and basically we just followed the plan like we always would. So we did the same bedtime routine, nap time routine, even in fact in the car, because it's a 6-hour trip, I still did his routine. So I read him the story, I had his noise machine, I put just a blanket sort of half covering so it was darker, and it worked. It worked for, I think we did 4 naps that way in the car, and he was out. I mean, he cried for like 2 minutes maybe, but then he was out and he slept for not even just one sleep cycle. A couple of the naps were, you know, a full 2-hour nap. Sleeping at my mom's house, he did great. The naps are more challenging, I'm not gonna lie. We were at my cousin's house. I tried to put him down for a nap at their place. They didn't have any curtains because they moved into a new house. They don't have all the light. The room was still very light, so he wouldn't go down for that. So I pull what I call the emergency brake, COVID reference. And that means basically we just do a nap on the go. So I got Dave to strap him on and baby wear him and take him for a walk in the carrier, and he eventually fell asleep that way. So when in doubt, we do that. There's been one time mentioned earlier in this video that I don't know what I would do if he kept crying, and that situation did happen. So every once in a while he does wake up and cry. More often than not, it is in the early hours of the morning. He'll wake up and he sort of cries a bit, and then he goes back to sleep. Sometimes a couple of times, but eventually he does go back to sleep. One time, it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and he just kept crying. It went on for, I think it went on for like 10 minutes, and that's very unusual. Usually it's just a minute or 2. So I made the decision. I just thought, okay, this is it. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna pick him up. I just have to. I just couldn't not, right? So I picked him up, held him, I rocked him, I told him it was gonna be okay, everything's all right. I put him down, and he cried for another maybe 3 minutes, and then he did go back to sleep. So I don't know what happened there, why it happened. I broke the rules, but it was a one-time thing. Then we went back to the plan. So I feel like when things do start to go out of whack, so because it's been so long now, it's of him getting solid sleeps every single night and for all of his naps. So I feel like if something's off in the sleep, then I know something's off with him. So it'll be a sign to me like, oh, maybe he's sick, or maybe he's in pain, or something's wrong, because I know he sleeps. So I'll just act accordingly, trying to figure out what it is, try to fix it, and hold him, take his temperature, that kind of thing, and then we can always go back to the plan the next night when in doubt. So I'm feeling really confident. Back then we were transitioning from 3 naps down to 2, still in the 2 nap. However, what recently happened just this past, I'd say maybe 2 weeks ago, we just got a handle on it this week. I just finally figured it out. He was waking up, it wasn't a big deal, but he was waking up from his naps really early. He was only getting the 1 cycle in, so he was only getting maybe a half hour, 40-minute nap kind of thing, which was unusual. So I was like, hey, what's going on with this? Maybe he's teething, growth spurt, leap, all those. But it dawned on me, getting older now, perhaps his wake windows need to be stretched a little bit. So we were doing the minimum wake windows because I had transitioned him. So I thought, well, because he's going from 3 to 2 naps, then I gotta do the minimum because, it's a stretch already for him. But now that time's gone on, I thought to myself, maybe his wake windows need to be stretched out a little bit. So I did that. I stretched them out just by 15 minutes each window at first, and it helped. And then today I did out even 5 minutes more, so 20 minutes per. With the exception of the last one, we've always done 4 hours at the last one, and he's fine with that, so I'm just keeping that as is. And it's helped. The naps have gotten longer again. I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty proud of myself for thinking of that. If you're running into a situation where you're getting the naps cut short, he was also having a hard time falling asleep at his naps. He was taking like 15 minutes of crying to go to sleep, and it was heart-wrenching. I was like, what is this? I hate this. And when I thought about it, it's the wake windows. He's under-tired. He's not ready for bed yet. So with having this baseline, now I can kind of figure out what's going on and kind of go from there. So I'm really, basically the moral of the story of this video is, for our family, it worked. I was really hesitant to do it. I hate the idea of my little one crying, and I totally respect and understand people who, won't do it, can't do it, don't believe in it, whatever, because I was that person. For us, it got to the point where I couldn't go on. I couldn't go on without doing something. So the pain of what I perceived as the pain of doing this was less than the pain of continuing on with extreme sleep deprivation. Like, it was bad. I wasn't my 100% self, and I'm sure George wasn't his 100% self either. So like I said earlier in this video, it was the kind thing to do, and I stand by that for our family. So I'm going to give all the credit to Taking Cara Babies program. Definitely download or sign up for purchase her ABC sleep training program. That's the one that I've followed and have had success with. I don't know about her other ones. I'm sure they're great as well. But yeah, there's lots of other sleep training programs out there, but I personally really, really enjoyed her approach and have found great success with it. So thanks so much for hanging in there. Oh, and the one last thing is about Jeffrey. Every once in a while, he'll cry. He'll wake up randomly and he'll cry, and it'll last longer than a minute or two, and I'll think, like, what's going on? It's happened maybe like 2 or 3 times, just a handful of times. But I realize that he can't find Jeffrey in the crib. So I go in there and literally, like, I look on the camera where Jeffrey is because it's dark, I can't see in there. And so I know where I'm going. I go in the room and I get Jeffrey and I put it so that I know George can feel him. Don't even say anything. Walk out. That's it. It fixes it. So that's really worked for us too, this whole lovey situation. So anyways, I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe. Remember that I am a new YouTuber, so the videos are hopefully gonna get better and better. If you have any topics you want me to cover, if you have any video ideas that you'd like to see, please send them my way, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.